Hello, everybody. My name is Christina Clausen. I am the mother of Björk. She has Down syndrome. She's 7 years old. And I'm also the co-author of the book, Down Syndrome, the First Years. So today we are here because we want to get to know a little bit more about the situation in Ukraine for children with Down syndrome and also their parents and the living situation in Ukraine with the war, but also having a child with a disability. So a couple of months ago, actually almost a year ago now, in June 2023, Oksana, who is on this picture on the left here, contacted me because they had heard about a book that we had written in 2021 that came out that you can see on this picture. It's called Down Syndrome, the First Years. And they wanted to hear if it was possible to work together with us to translate and adapt this book to Ukrainian so that new parents could get information that were supportive about having a child with Down syndrome. And me and my publisher, Nina, we were really enthusiastic about this, and we really wanted to do it. And then we were just beginning to plan how to make this happen. So what we want to do right now is to try to translate this book into Ukrainian, and I'll tell you a little bit more about the book. And after that, I'll introduce Oksana and also Maria that you can see here on the picture, and also Lyubov, which is the second one, or the third one on the picture here in the middle, the blue t-shirt. They will tell a little bit more about their lives. But first, I'll tell you a little bit more about the book, and then I'll give the floor to the Ukrainian people that we work together with. The reason why I wrote the book is that I got Björk, and I didn't write it alone. But the motivation to write the book was that I had a lot of questions. And every time I went on Google, or I found a lot of health-related information. I didn't find precise and accurate answers to, for example, why is my baby sleeping all the time? Why can't she breastfeed? How do I tell her sibling that her little sister has Down syndrome? When do I tell it? So I had so many questions, and I found that on Facebook, a lot of the parents had the answers, but there were also a lot of misinformation on Facebook. So what I wanted to do was to gather all this information, get experts to help and parents to help write, and then gather it in one book that could give accurate information, but also very supportive information on life with Down syndrome. So the result was this book. One of the things that were really prioritized was to have pictures on every page of normal family life, nice pictures of children with Down syndrome. So we spent 3 years writing the book, and we got help from 40 professionals, and we got help from 200 parents in 4 countries. So that was the Faroe Islands, Norway, Sweden, and Denmark. And so for those of you that can read Scandinavian language, you can see here the topics of the book. And it goes from feelings, emotions, experiences to health, language, sensory issues, and so on. Yeah, so we tried to put a lot of nice pictures in it. And I think that's why we got this connection with, we had a presentation in Praha where we told about the book. And that's when Ukrainian team with Oksana connected to us and wanted to translate the book. So we started this cooperation, and actually what we did was that we began a cooperation to find a publisher, and we have kind of everything set to start that cooperation. So I have two more things to say before I give the floor to Oksana. One thing is that now every parent in Norway get this book for free in a suitcase called Veslas Kuffert, and also Danish parents will soon get this book for free. We don't make any money on the book. We just want it to be spread. And that's the same with the Ukrainian book project. We want it to be spread so that parents can get supportive information. So we had this crowdfunding campaign to try to translate the book. And if you want to support the campaign, this is where you will find the information. We will probably also put it in the chat. But if you see this presentation afterwards, you can go to this splice, and then you have to transfer via your bank, not via a phone. It's not so smart. So now for the interesting part of this webinar, and that is something I have really been, since we started cooperating, Oksana, who is on the left here, Maria, who is number 2, we have talked a lot with each other. But one thing we haven't done is have a good conversation on how is life? How is life for you? How is it to live in a war? How is the early intervention systems in your countries? How is the support system for you as a parent? How do professionals meet you as a parent? What kind of support can you get? So all of these questions we haven't really got around to talk because we have been so focused on the project of translating the book. So today I'm really looking forward to just hearing what the Oksana has to tell us, because she is the one that is the most fluent in English. Some of the rest actually don't speak any English, so we will probably have some translation. But Oksana, she is a PhD. She's a psychologist and the vice president of the Ukrainian Early Childhood Intervention Association. And she is supportive of parents in her area around Odessa. And she has a team with her also that works with early intervention. And she will try to explain us the general situation for families with the children with Down syndrome. And then she will also, in her presentation, incorporate Maria's presentation. And she has a 2-year-old he's 2-year-old a couple of weeks ago. He's called Nazar. And Maria, she will be a part of that presentation. And the same with Lyubov, who has a grown-up son, Alexander, with Down syndrome. If you want to get in touch with me, here's my information. But enough from me. I will try to moderate. And please, Oksana, I know she loves to see faces. So if you're not worried about getting your face out on the internet, then please put on your cameras so that Oksana will feel welcome in the Scandinavian context. Oksana, the floor is yours. Welcome to this Scandinavian webinar.
Well, thank you very much for your kind presentation. And my name is Oksana Kryvonogova. I am from Odessa, from Ukraine. And here I present my team. We have here mothers of children with disabilities. And we have Lyubov. Can you wave your hand? Hello. And we have Maria, is mother of Nazar. And we have also Irina. Yes, and she is the head of Parents NGO here in Odessa, Ukraine. And now I will share my presentation. Something. Oh, now it's okay. Yes.
Yes.
So here you can see us, our team, and I am an early childhood intervention specialist, and we started early childhood intervention in Odessa 15 years ago as a single initiative of an NGO, and now we came to a national strategy of early childhood intervention. But still we have a lot of challenges in that, and I will tell about that a little bit. And maybe if you want to know more about that, maybe we can continue next time. And here you see Lyubov. Lyubov is a mother of Alexander. Alexander is 35 years old, and they came from Kherson. And Kherson is now under a huge bombardment and almost ruined. And the family of Lyubov, they are now in Odessa. So they are, as we say in Ukraine, internally displaced people. And Maria, she is a mother of Nazar, and she is a mother of 3 children, of 3 boys, and Nazar is the youngest one. And she lives in Odessa region, not in the city, in Odessa region, in a village. And we will talk a little bit, maybe you will have some questions about the accessibility of services in a rural area. Of course, we understand that it is a point. So about statistic, we have such statistic that the children with Down syndrome is rather frequently born in Ukraine. And we start from these families with a child with Down syndrome. They start from medical system. And our like system of help to people with disabilities and to children with disabilities is rather medical. And it is like about medical treatment and not about life, not about quality of life. So we have this clinical protocol. It is official. It was developed long ago, but it is still actual. This is the name of this protocol. And it is saying that women who is pregnant can make some tests to know if she has a child with some genetic issues or Down syndrome during the pregnancy. So it can be free of charge in a maternity house or in some consultations or in hospitals. So it is in the protocol. And after a birth of a child, also the family can have some medical observations, and these medical specialists can provide some recommendations to parents. It is all, you see that it is about clinic, it is about medical support, it is about medical specialists, and what challenges we see. Sometimes medical doctors, they make this talk, they're speaking about Down syndrome in unethical way. Because they have, for example, they can advise even to terminate the pregnancy or to send to some internat, even now. Of course, now we see less of that because we have reform of deinstitutionalization in Ukraine, but still we can, we know that such advices medical doctors can still give to parents of child with Down syndrome. And still we have these internats in Ukraine. Incompetence of specialists. They very frequently, medical specialists, even medical specialists, they don't know about Down syndrome, what it is and what is the life with a child with Down syndrome look like. And they don't share information about services, about people, about specialists, about maybe peer support groups that can help. And also we have lack of information materials for parents. Of course, sometimes they have them, but they are not as pleasant as Christina showed us. Sometimes it's like, you know, parts of body of child with Down syndrome. It's not pleasant. It is even frightening, and you know, it's not, I think, a good not a good way to share the information, of course. You know, Ukraine is, I think, a country where we have a lot of good legislation and good regulations about people with disabilities, but most of them are only on paper. For example, children with disabilities or adults with disabilities, they can have some equipment free of charge, some rehabilitation free of charge, and a lot of things from the government or from the community. Even they can have some discount for traveling. But again, challenges. It is difficult to establish the status of disability. A lot of paper, a lot of meetings with doctors. Two parents need to be together. And for example, now during war, some parents can, some of the family could move abroad. Some stayed in Ukraine, or parents can be divorced, but still mother and father must be there to establish the disability of a child, and it is of course a difficulty. Another point, that if a child has no disability status, official status, he cannot get this free of charge equipment or rehabilitation or everything, and they need to pay money for that, and it can be a lot of money, really. We talk a lot with parents, and I think maybe all of them telling us that they are not informed about different services they can get from the government and from the community, or from some NGOs, for example, from a non-governmental sector. They just don't know, and they don't know where to find this information. If the community or the region of Ukraine has early childhood intervention service, it is very good, because we started, as I said, with early childhood intervention 15 years ago, and there were only 4 regions in Ukraine who had early childhood intervention, and these centers were more ungovernmental, not non-governmental. And now we came to national ECI system, but still we have a lot of challenges in that, because so in Ukraine, early childhood intervention, it is multidisciplinary service for families. So it is family-based, family-centered, for families with children from birth to 4 years old. In Europe, we know that it can be till 6 or till 8 sometimes, but in Ukraine till 4 years old, because at 4 we have legislation that every child goes to educational system. So early childhood intervention starts from birth and ends at 4 years old. And for families with small children with developmental disorders or at risk. And here you see recommended practices of early childhood intervention. And it is not like Ukrainian practices, it is international practices, and in Ukraine we have even national trainers, ECI trainers, and we have 26 trainers all over Ukraine, and they were trained by European Association of Early Childhood Intervention, Early Aid, and by ANIP, it's Portuguese Association of Early Childhood Intervention. And these are these evidence-based practices, family-centered intervention, natural learning contexts. We, before the COVID, we tried to do home visits, not intervention in the center, but home visiting, and it was very effective, really. But COVID taught us that we can provide ECI service online, and we can also see the surrounding, what is inside the house, how the place for play looks like, and a lot of things. And now we are using this experience after COVID experience during war. I will tell about that. So, you know, these disasters, they can teach us to do something good. And transdisciplinary teamwork, so we can choose one like key professional who goes to family, because of course if all our team will come home to the family, it's, I think, a little bit stressful. So one professional is a key professional, and the others are the team around him and around the family. So he brings the knowledge to the family, the knowledge of the team. And of course, it is important coordination and integration with other services of different spheres. I told you about medical sphere. I will tell you about social and educational. And we know that early childhood intervention, it is not only about the child, it is about the family, and it is support, of course, for a child, it is support for parents, and it is about using the resources of community. And here we have some problems. I told you about how to know about, how parents can know about these resources, who must tell them. And we have interesting research during the war, by the way, and parents were asked about early childhood intervention, because with the starting of war, we continue to work in ECI. We can make sometimes home visits still. We make a lot of online meetings, and it is also very important for rural areas where they have nothing for children. Even sometimes they don't have even you know, regular playground in some villages. And what about ECI service? Something, you know, very modern and very seldom. After the starting of war, we continue providing ECI service in different formats, and different families who stayed in Ukraine in these dangerous parts, also who moved to other more safe parts of Ukraine, and also for those who went abroad, we can still provide ECI service for them and support them. And here you can see that parents, what parents are saying about the importance of ECI service. Of course, we see that really they feel that it is very important for them, that it is supportive for them. And it is really about real life, organizing real life with a small child. And it is important, but still, of course, we have a lot of challenges, but this, I think, the most important because ECI is a multidisciplinary service, and in ECI team we have medical specialist, social specialist, and speech therapist and rehabilitation specialist. And each of these specialists, they have different like ministries, and that means that different resources of financing. And I know that in other countries you have some regulations how to put all this money, you know, into one pocket from different sources, but we don't. But if one ministry, for example, Ministry of Health will pay to his medical specialist, and another ministry to his specialist, to its specialist, and educational ministry to its specialist, they will not work as a team, of course. They have different regulations, they have different protocols, they have different even statistics. So we are trying to think about that. We even have some coordinative councils under the Cabinet of Ministries, and we have regional coordinative councils, and we work for more than 10 years with that, but still we are talking how to finance this multidisciplinary service. Hopefully we will find the way, but it is a challenge. The next system that we have, and it is very important, educational services. We have a reform of inclusive education in Ukraine, and it means that each child can go to inclusive kindergarten, because all the kindergartens in Ukraine are inclusive. Like they can create inclusive group if it is needed in each kindergarten, in each regular kindergarten. And the same about schools. We hope that the same will be with the universities and colleges and everything. But now, more or less, we have these groups in kindergartens and inclusive classes in schools. And again, more of this is on paper. Okay, I will tell later about that. So we have this inclusive education, and we have some special schools also. By the way, in this educational system, we still have internat schools where children can stay for a night. We still have that. Then we have social services. We have even more. Here are the main social services. And social service, it means that each community or county can create these services if they have like demand of the population of this community, of this part of the region. But sometimes if parents, for example, or just people or population of this community, they don't know about these services and they don't know what to do to get these services, they do not apply for them. And in this case, for example, the head of this community, he can or she can tell that nobody needs this kind of service. That is why we didn't create this or that. So this is, you know, also an option, but still we have it on paper. And we maybe if you will put a lot of strength in that, you can maybe ask the authorities in your community create these social services. But still, the quality is on paper. So we had, as I said, good regulation, but in reality, it in most cases it doesn't work. And I think the main problem is in specialists, in people. We don't have a good quality of training of specialists. We don't have supervisions of cases for specialists. Our specialists, they use not evidence-based methods. And we even, you know, a lot of evidence-based literature is not in Ukrainian. And our specialists, frequently, they don't know other languages, English, and they cannot use this literature. Somebody must translate it to them. And of course, the same with parents. A lot of materials have been translated. Inability to work in a team. We don't have this culture to really work in a team. We work separately. We work, our specialists, they work in some, you know, separate rooms. And they provide in separate kinds of work, but they cannot work really as a team. And it is very difficult for them to coordinate with others. I told you that we have different systems, medical, social, educational, and all the specialists, they communicate inside of this one system. For example, almost every day, I can hear from medical specialists, we don't have, for example, we don't have some services, okay, in medical system. And I'm telling them, okay, they have this service in educational system. And this inclusive resource center, which provides diagnostic, which provides recommendations for families. It is, you know, under the corner or around the corner, but still they don't want to know. They know only about their separate system, and it is a very big difficulty. And it is about people, about specialists. They don't know, they don't want to know even. As a rule, parents are excluded from these rehabilitation plans, from these educational plans. They somewhere in the corridor. Specialists can plan something, but without parents. But we have a lot of hope because during the war, our First Lady, Olena Zelenska, she provides this big strategy of accessibility. And it is not about only architectural accessibility, it is about accessibility to some services. And our early childhood intervention service is inside this strategy. So we have a lot of hope that maybe this year or next year, they will develop some financial mechanism, and we really will have this good system, ECI system in Ukraine, because early start is very important. Luckily, we have NGO chapter in our country, and really we have parents organization, and we have organizations of specialists who can provide peer support groups, psychological support groups, and sometimes even professional services. And even these services can be even more professional, you know, than official sometimes. Here you see children and adults with Down syndrome. They are from Kherson and from Odessa. So this is our Ukrainian children from our like part of Ukraine. And really, I hope that in the nearest future we will learn how to work as a team, because it takes a whole village to raise a child. And I believe in that. And I think that our cooperation also will be fruitful. And we will become one team. And now I want to give the floor to Lyubov and Maria. We made video for you. You see, I'm talking a lot, but it is not because they have nothing to say. It is because they don't know English. But we tried to translate what they were saying. So we will listen to them using this video. Please.
Good afternoon. My name is Lyubov Harunzhak. I am the mother of Oleksandr, who is 37 years old today. We are from the city of Kherson in Ukraine. I am Oleksandr Harunzhak. I am from Kherson. Sasha was born on April 23rd, 1987. Unfortunately, this is a long time ago. I am a medical specialist by profession, a maternity nurse. Honestly, nothing boded any trouble at that time. And there was no ultrasound investigation at that time. He was born as he was. And all my colleagues, friends, doctors, managers, they were all very surprised because my husband and I, a young couple, had such a child. We had a lot of predisposition, as they say. My husband served in the missile forces. 1986 was the year of the Chernobyl accident. I found out later that it was in 1987 that many children were born with Down syndrome. No one had the idea of abandoning Oleksandr, sending him to an orphanage or something else. He was a healthy enough boy. He was breastfed and very active. What was he like before he was a year old? He was sickly. He had frequent colds. He grew up in a family and there were no any problems, only acute respiratory viral infections. After a year, we started looking for a rehabilitation center or a kindergarten for our son. And at the age of 6, he went to a logopedic preschool, which had just been opened on a trial basis. In this institution, there were many children with Down syndrome and children with cerebral palsy, autism. After this institution, they all went to a rehabilitation center. You know, when he was born, my pediatrician showed me my son, and her hands were shaking. I said to her, "What are you doing?" "I know about this. I was trained. We had a book about childhood disabilities, and I read about the it there. Then a book about Down syndrome was brought to me from Moscow, and I read it from cover to cover. I really wanted to know how such children develop up to a year, up to 6 months. What to pay more attention to, how to educate and socialize them, about occupational therapy, rehabilitation, what to teach them about. It was a very good book. Later, I gave it to someone as a gift. At that time, there was very little information for parents. There were no booklets, no instructional literature. Right now, I'm holding a book in my hands. The publisher is not ours, not Ukrainian. I look at these photos, these positive children, parents. There is probably so much information here about birth, about development, about nutrition, about care. There are pictures of the birth itself, and I see children, young and old enough. To be honest, I have never seen such information in Ukraine. And I would really like all parents who have special children like Oleksandr to have such a handbook. Because when he was born, I didn't have such a book, and I'm sorry for that. I think that such a book will be translated into Ukrainian and will contain a lot of information for Ukrainian parents. It will be a masterpiece for us, for parents. My name is Maria. I am Nazar's mother. Nazar is 2 years and 1 month old. I've been a maternity leave mom for 10 years. Because I have 3 children, Nazar is the youngest of them. After he was born and he was 9 days old, we had him tested for karyotype. A month later, it was confirmed. No one provided any psycho-emotional help. Together with the family, we coped as best we could. When Nazar was 4 months old, We were enrolled in an early childhood intervention service, and it was there that they began to tell me what Down syndrome was and how to take care of such babies, what to look for in terms of health and communication with the child. Then, I joined the Down syndrome organization, and we started counseling at about 6 months of age. These were online meetings because I live in Odessa region, and our village has nothing similar to provide us with support, no specialists. It was difficult to travel to Odessa with a small child, so we received help online. We also had online meetings with early childhood intervention specialists. We took information from the internet. When Nazar was under 6 months old, I was looking for such young children to see how they grow, how they develop, what I should pay attention to. But I never met them anywhere. Then I found a group on Viber where mothers of such children communicated with each other, and that's when I started to learn a lot of new information when I joined this group. Nazar and I were told about the book by our early childhood intervention specialist. She was at a conference where she met Christina and saw this book. At one of our meetings, she told us about it, and we talked about how it would be great if we had a book like this in Ukraine, which tells about babies, their growth periods, what to pay attention to, about feeding, chewing, and so on. In fact, you can't find all this information on the internet. Only a specialist can tell you. A specialist who has been working with a child with Down syndrome for a long time. That's why I think, as a mother, it would be very important for every mother to have such a book at hand from the moment the child is born. Because here you can see a lot of photos. There are stories of families. They are alive, and it is very encouraging. And it shows that the child born is the same as all other children, but has a slightly different development, a slightly different care. It's actually not as scary as we might be told in the hospital, or by the pediatrician, or by anyone else who comes our way. So I would really like to see such a book adapted to Ukraine, because many parents don't know the laws, don't know how to apply for pension payments, don't know which doctors to go to, and much, much more. If all this were collected in one book, it would be a treasure on a mom's desk where she could open a page and see what to do in a particular situation.
So I think that Maria's and Lyubov's English is much better than mine. Я кажу, що ваша англійська краща за мою. I think that you can ask questions or some comments to Maria and Lyubov. I have just a few slides about war in Ukraine, because we cannot cancel this topic. It is important, and even today we had several alarms, and we have had big bombardment in our seaport. And here you see our reality, that we don't know if some rocket or drone will come today with bombs or not. Here is our beautiful city, Odessa. Here is our beautiful opera and ballet theater by Italian architect. And here you can see destroyed houses and explosions in our seaport. And what war is like for people with disabilities. Here I am using these symbols from alternative and augmentative communication, because we don't have this system in Ukraine. But during war, we started to develop that, because it helped not only to people with disabilities, but to our Ukrainian people to communicate abroad with the using of these symbols. So war is evacuation. We didn't know how to organize it. Now we know, because from the first day of war, we had a lot about this topic. War is adaptation on a new place. And here you see a boy in Poland, and he's trying to communicate, and he even developed his own graphic symbol, matka. It is in Polish, mama. mother. War is new daily routines. And here you see the shelter. And it is the real picture from real life of our early childhood intervention service. When alarm started, specialist and family moved to the shelter, but it is now a part of our life. So we go to the shelter several times a day, and life continues there. So we can provide service there also. New words in the vocabulary. I had a case when parents who had some hearing disability, they asked me how to tell their children who could hear, how to tell them what alarm is. And we discussed about such symbols they can use to describe this to their children. I will not show this video. I think we don't have time for it, but I think that it is more important to talk maybe afterwards. And now we know that we need a lot of mental health support. And we are trying to live normal life. I don't know if it is possible, but trying to live normal life during war. And here you see our parents club. We have art therapy meetings with parents because we understand that parents are very important for their children. And their mental health support is very important. You see here our New Year celebration. Also parents with children, because it is still, life still goes on during war. And we need to make it more or less normal for us. And this is a picture of our real life in the shelter. It is an artist who did it during war. Different people with different stories in the shelter. But life is like this now. So I want to say thank you for your attention. And now I stop to share my presentation. I hope that you could understand my English. And I hope that you have some questions or comments so we can listen to you now.
Thank you very much, Oksana. And thank you for both very enlightening talk about the system that you have, both the system and the lack of system. And also thank you for I thought it was a very touching video, especially hearing from Lyubov and hearing about, she kind of drew us through history, I felt. And I don't think that her situation is at that time, maybe if you go maybe 20 years earlier, that would be the same situation for people in our countries. So it's just very touching to hear the way that she has been received by, or maybe to say not received by, her surroundings. And that is kind of painful to watch, I think. It's painful to watch that she hasn't had that support. And then it's also very interesting to hear from Maria, who is a new mother. What is how can we make life better for the new parents that are coming? Because now Lyubov has a lot of experience being a mother, and she knows that it's not as dangerous as it might have seemed. So maybe my question is and all of you others can please raise your hands or write in the chat, but I will ask this question for Maria. So how do you feel that you are received and supported by your surroundings? Yeah, maybe that is my question for Maria.
Thank you. I will translate. Крістіна сказала, що дуже сподобалась презентація і подякувала, що я поділилася розповіддю про нашу систему в Україні. І вона була дуже так тронута цим відео, особливо тим, що розповіла Любов про те, що було там, десь там, більш ніж 20 років тому, і як дійсно було важко, і як було шукати ту інформацію, і як ви про це емоційно розповідали. Вона це ніби відчула. І така, трохи інша історія Марії, коли це, мама з маленькою дитиною, і вже трошки інша ситуація. І вона і вона каже, що ось така ситуація, як описувала Любов, в принципі, це десь 20 років тому було і в їх країні. Також такі, як пошуки. Але вона хоче задати питання Марії, як ви відчуваєте зараз, чи є ось ця підтримка для вас у вашому оточенні? Що ви можете про це сказати?
Перш за все, я дуже рада, що ми користуємось програмою раннє втручання, там, де нас ведуть і допомагають. Оце, від спеціалістів це найкраща підтримка. Це перше. А друге, це наша родина. Це підтримка така, сама близька, тому що всі зразу влилися в те, що Назарчик у нас з синдромом, те, що треба більш бути до нього, як сказати, дбайливими, більш уважнішими. Мені зразу вдалося всіх своїх родичів цьому навчити, і тому вони нас гарно підтримують, і в тандемі сім'я і фахівець, мені здається, ми рухаємося у правильному напрямку.
I'm very happy that I have this early childhood intervention service from the first month of life of my son. So this is my support, really. And the second important thing is my family, of course. Not the second, maybe, but I feel a lot of support from them. And they know that Nazar have Down syndrome, and they were taught by me. I was lucky with it, how to behave with them, and they know that he needs more maybe attention in some issues, and this is really support for me also.
Are there anyone else in the room that has any questions for the Ukrainian participants? Or reactions could also be nice for them to hear how you perceive what you have seen. What is it like you expected? Or is it different than what you expected? Does anybody feel like sharing their thoughts on this?
Then I can just add to Christina's comment that you're more than welcome to turn on your camera and ask your questions in live video if you'd like that. Okay, but here is a question. So Christina, I'll leave it for you.
Yeah. So Angelica, she asks if you have some kind of... Oh, sorry, I'll take Thomas first. Please, Thomas.
Yes, hello. Thank you, Oksana, for this very interesting presentation. My name is Thomas Bauer. I'm a professor in special education at Örebro University in Sweden, and I'm cooperating with some universities in Ukraine. I've heard about these inclusive resource centers, as you call them. And if I understand it right, it's a quite new development. They have been established in the last, 8 years or so. As far as we know from research, international research, much about inclusive education has to do both with attitudes and with knowledge. How do you experience the attitudes in Ukrainian society when it comes to inclusion, and in particular when it comes to inclusive education, so inclusion in school?
Please, can you tell more about what do you mean attitudes? Can you...
The attitudes of, for example, teachers, the attitudes of other staff in the school? Do you feel accepted when it comes to education and inclusive education in terms that children with and without disability are going to the same school?
I think that the things are changing because when this reform was started in Ukraine, of course, we had a lot of like myths about people with disabilities. And of course, still we have some problems sometimes in kindergartens and in schools from parents. Sometimes they don't want children with disability in their groups, in groups of their children. Also, we have, as I told, lack of information for general population about disability, about accessibility, about how to behave with people with disabilities, about life with people with disabilities, that they are people or they are children and not. That is first, that is the most important. And also we have lack of information for specialists. And I think that our system of professional education is not very good. And it is also a challenge because they are not prepared to teach in such inclusive kindergartens and school. And inclusive resource center, it's like an extra institution because there, for example, in Odessa region, we have 40 inclusive resource center. We have a lot. In some regions, they have just one, for example. We have a lot. But their main goal is to provide diagnostic, like complex assessment. And then these children, they go to kindergarten or to school after this inclusive resource center. And this IRC, as inclusive resource center, they are supposed to support these children in their inclusive surrounding, educational surrounding. But it is not of a good quality as a rule, but things are changing. So now we have more and more courses, online courses, sometimes even supervisions of cases. And I hope that in some years, if we will alive, still it's not like, you know, black humor a little bit, but maybe we will have a better situation. Because now we have support of the First Lady, we have support of the ministries in these, you know, programs for people with disabilities, because we will have them, more of them after the war. We will have veterans, and we already have them without legs, without arms, with different mental problems after war. And, you know, it is, of course, very bad, but from another point, maybe these high authorities, they like turned to this problem and are trying to do something for these people.
So there's another question. Thank you, Oksana, for the answer. Is that okay for you, Thomas?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Angelica Löfdahl has asked two questions. So the one question is, we have something called universal design. It means that you kind of design the buildings that you have so that they are accessible for handicapped people, and that could also be like elevators and so on. So she asked, to what degree do you have that? That's question number one. And question number two, maybe you could broaden that out to your group. It is something I think we are all very interested in hearing. It is the question is, can parents feel ashamed to keep their child with Down syndrome? Is it also shameful to leave it to an institution, to adopt it to an institution? And can relatives be ashamed? So it touches into this like Lyubov's story, and maybe how are the attitudes today in terms of shame. And I think maybe when we have answered this question, we should start to round up and end the seminar. So maybe you can answer these two questions, and then we can round this nice webinar.
Mm-hmm. I will answer about universal design. Yes, we again have this on paper, and we have this good strategy of accessibility, and it is inside of this strategy. But for example, now I work in the building of mental health center, and it is a building which is more than 100 years old. And when we see very good practices abroad, for example, supported living or something, and I frequently hear from the specialist, okay, we destroyed everything that was here and built new buildings with this universal design. It is, I think, not an option for Ukraine now, because we don't have money for that. So, of course, we have universal design on paper, and we even have some commissions, you know, who can come and tell, oh, you have this universal design, we will close your institution. But still, we don't have, I think, finances during war to rebuild. Yes, we need to create this universal design, but we don't have, I think, money for that. But we are moving forward in that direction. And now I will translate the other question to parents. Так, ну, перше питання про універсальний дизайн я відповіла, що ми ніби рухаємось в тому напрямку. Так? І було питання, чи ви відчуваєте, як батьки, чи стидаєтесь ви своєї дитини, чи це є характерним зараз для батьків, чи є ця проблема, коли, наприклад, ваші родичі стидаються вашої дитини, чи це зараз в Україні, тобто, і також, чи були, ну, можливо, чи це ніби є така практика, коли все ж таки батьки, які виховують дитину з інвалідністю, все ж таки влаштовують її в якийсь інтернатний заклад. Ну, тому що через те, що вони там або стидаються, або там не мають інформації. От ваше бачення цього. Хто перший?
Хто відповідає?
Давайте ви.
Ну, давайте я. Ну, як я зрозуміла, ну, як для мене, з мого досвіду, треба, ну, і я так зробила, я не стидалася своєї дитини, я зразу почала з ним рухатися у світ скрізь. Моє життя було таке, як і до його народження, ну, трошки поплакала, звичайно, перших пару місяців, але я не зациклилась на тому, що в нього є інвалідність. І, ну, на нашій родині це взагалі ніяк не відобразилось, тому що якщо мої родичі там чогось стидаються, то я взагалі не бачу цього, ну, за ними такого не бачу. Але я знаю родини, де дійсно дітей, ну, це я не знаю, як зараз, але до війни я цікавилася, дійсно віддають до інтернатів, на жаль, так воно і є. Я не знаю, з яких вони це роблять, чи це в них недостатньо інформації, чи, ну, якісь свої внутрішні хвилювання, там, я не знаю, але я такі случаї знаю.
Thank you. So it is about shame. Yes, and Maria is telling that I wasn't ashamed by my child. Of course, during the first month of his life, I was crying a lot. But then I tried not to think about disability, but I thought about my child. And I don't see this shame in my relatives also. So we accept Nazar as he is, But I know families who put their children to internet. I don't know why. Maybe because they had lack of information, maybe because they have had a lot of emotions, shame or something, but it happened. Thank you. Irina.
Я хочу розповісти за батьків, бо в мене є громадська організація, і в неї більше 100 батьків, які виховують дітей з інвалідністю. І хочу трохи розповісти таку історію, коли ми починали, це було майже 15 років тому, і які зараз батьки, то вони більш компетентні і більш дійсно вони борються за свої права, за права своїх дітей. Якщо Оксана переведе, а потім я продовжу.
Так, I can tell from the point of view of the head of Parents NGO, and our NGO is 15 years old. And and there are hundreds of parents with children in this NGO. These are parents of children with disabilities. And when we started, I saw more parents who had lack of information, and some of them were ready to put their children to institutions. But now I see that parents are becoming more competent, and they are beginning to advocate the rights of their children.
І ми робимо дуже багато заходів і залучаємо батьків з дітьми на різні театри, прогулянки, громадські такі місця, щоб вони не соромилися своїх дітей. Але знаю таких знайомих, які все ж таки віддають своїх дітей до інтернатного закладу, і це не від того, що вони їх не люблять, а від того, що вони вже втомилися бути поруч з ними.
And now in our NGO we are trying to organize some activities for parents together with children to go to different places for walks, to visit some theaters, but still sometimes parents put their children to internet, not because they don't love this child, because they are exhausted. They don't have they don't feel themselves able to help the child. That is why.
Так, і є навіть випадки в нас в Україні, що батьки вже погодилися в пологовому будинку віддати дитину в інтернатний заклад, і буквально за декілька годин до того, як вони будуть передавати дитину, родина схопилася і передумала віддавати дитину з синдромом Дауна в інтернатний заклад.
А чому?
Бо діти сказали, що це теж наш братик, і ми хочемо його любити.
And we have one case in Ukraine when one family they gave birth to a child with Down syndrome, and they were ready to give in this maternity house to give this child for adoption or for internet. But the brothers and sisters of this child, they told, this is our brother. We don't want him to be somewhere, and this family accepted this child.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think we are beginning to close the arrangement, but do you have a small comment or a nice way to maybe round up the session?
No, well, I don't. Thank you so much. Well, I have so many questions, but I don't think I should take your time to try to answer those. I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing. I think, well, first of all, of course, you struggle in so many ways besides the way with the people that you have children with disabilities. That's just, you know, I can't imagine your situation. So I'm very happy that you shared your experience and your knowledge. And I just like that. Keep up all the good work that you do. And I tell you, you come back several times, you say, it's on paper. You have all these policies. And I would just, I don't know if it makes you stronger or not, but I can tell you that in Sweden, it's kind of the same way. We have a lot of good ideas and a lot of systems and a lot of, you know, things that we do have that's very good, but a lot of it is just on paper. Like you have it. I mean, of course, we all struggle, but I think you're in a certain, of course, position with the war and the situation that you have. So I just wanted to say thank you. That's very nice of you to take your time to share this.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, and then I want to jump in and say that having things on paper is a very nice starting point for a change. So we really have our warmest thoughts and thoughts with you in what you're struggling with. And I want to wrap up this evening. So all that remains for me is to thank everyone for tonight. I want to thank you for all of you participating, for spending your evening with us. And I want to thank the Norwegian, Danish, and Icelandic Down Syndrome Association for the important job that you do every day and for sharing this event. And together we are making the world a better place for people with Down syndrome, all of us in this room working for that. So then I would like to share a very warm and special thank you for sharing your stories and your projects and your insights with us, Oksana and Lyubov and Maria and Christina. And so, like, really a large thank you, everyone. And with these words, we end this webinar, and we wish everyone a pleasant evening and a good night. And this will be recorded and published at our YouTube channel afterwards. So thank you for tonight, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.